Munciana Courtside, Show 7, Season 6. Mike Langenfelter, Randall Gardner. Sorry for being late this week. That's all on me, but we're ready to go now.
Yep. Last week highlights into this week's highlights. We'll kind of go on that route. Tuesday night, last Tuesday, McCutcheon beat Brownsburg in 4.
Not a surprise. McCutcheon's good. Brownsburg's good. John Shondale's sleeper team after a Purdue camp. Not enough to get through McCutcheon and their athletes.
Yep. Thursday night of last week, we had HSC get out the brooms to Zionsville.
Yeah, anytime you get Jason Young and Richard Coleman going after it on the same court, it's always a good thing. But HSC sweeps a rebuilding Zionsville team.
Yep. We talked about Saturday, the Class A showdown.
This is where your prediction was.
I said it was going to be Cowan and Indy Lutheran as the top 2 teams. They were. Cowan brought it home. And then Pool A, Pool B. LCC was who I picked to win it against Springs Valley. Flip-flopped. Springs Valley beat them in 3. Made it to the finals.
That's what you get for voting against or picking against Springs Valley.
Uh-huh.
You don't do that on the
They walked in to the old Blue River Finals. Cowan beats them 25-19, 25-15.
Yeah, wow, and Cowan subsequently becomes a favorite for a state championship. Put that bullseye right on your wife's backside, and here we go. Great tournament win by Cowan, and they are a legit team. That's a legit sampling of who's who in Class A, and those are all good teams. And most of that group, Cowan's has been in the state championship, won one. Indy Lutheran's been in one. LCC obviously been in them, won them. Springs Valley. West Ells won state championships. Morristown won state championships in the day. That is really an amazing sampling of 1A powers. Yep. Great tournament, great win by Cowan.
Yep. Cathedral invite. We talked about Blue Pool. Had Newcastle, Perry Meridian, Columbus East Cathedral. Newcastle came out of that one. And then you had the Green Pool. You had Penn, Center Grove, Avon, and New Albany. It seemed like it came down to Center Grove and Avon. Mm-hmm. Center Grove pulled it out. Center Grove plays Newcastle in the final.
Well,
to win.
I love the difference between Class A showdown and the Cathedral invite. There are more kids in the bathroom at these schools on a daily basis than go to those other schools.
Correct.
I mean, these
Correct.
are huge schools, and in great volleyball powers. Once again, you're talking about schools that have all been in the state championship hunt.
Year in and year out.
Year in and year out, and great powers. I think the story here was Newcastle continuing to sweep out people. I thought Cathedral is a much improved team, and I think a lot of people are. Mary Ording has done a tremendous job there. That team has improved immensely. Those of you wondering, I don't use anybody's married names because they're stuck in time with me, and Mary Ording is in the mid-2000s with me still. But, Cathedral is very, very good, and they're a much improved team, and she's got those guys rolling back in the right direction. Center Grove, really, MJ Hamill picked up right where she left off, and did a wonderful job. If it hadn't been for one really big run in Newcastle in the first set, that's probably 2-point games. And so you look at it, and then it helped a little bit. The other story I think out of that, maybe Avon is starting to find its rhythm. Took a game last night off of McCutcheon, gave some people a little bit of pushback in this tournament, and so you're starting to see some things happen. But the big story there is Newcastle wins and sweeps out Center Grove in 2.
Keep it going. Lazy Boy games of the week we're kind of hit on this week. A couple of them already done. Monday night, kind of a shocker. Roncalli sweeps Heritage Christian.
Heritage Christian was really starting to hit stride, and they really haven't had a bad match this year. They're coming off the big win over Hamilton Southeastern. This Heritage Christian team, I've said all year long, is real. Everybody is capable of having a hiccup. And I think they just hit their speed bump and Roncalli sweeps them out. It's shocking, but happens. It's high school volleyball, folks. Yeah. It happens. And for that Heritage Christian team, it may be the best thing that ever happened because, you come down off of that, it's a little bit of reality, and you regroup, and here we go.
Yep. Tuesday night, we had Cathedral and Carmel, which Early in the year, you would have thought Carmel would have handled that game.
Easy.
But as the years went on, Cathedral has slowly but surely put a great season together. As they go down the stretch.
No, I'm telling you.
They won in 4 last night against
Yeah,
Carmel.
I mean, Gene Kesterson.
On senior night.
Yes, I'm telling you, this Cathedral team has improved immensely. Very well set, young setter. A lot of really pieces in the making for this team. A lot of young kids trying to figure out what they're going to be volleyball-wise.
Yep.
And, Mary just continues to drive them in the right direction. She's a great role model, a great mentor. And I think she's going to bloom into a great coach. I mean, she's got the pedigree. I mean, she played for Gene. She knows what the Cathedral legacy is all about. And you're seeing them coming. And this Carmel team, I've seen them a couple times this year, and I keep waiting. I keep thinking this team is going to be a team is going to be on the rise come sectional time. I don't know. Cathedral may well be that team. That's a big win for Cathedral.
It is. Also, we had Lagodi swept Springs Valley last night. I think it was 21-19-17. So that was two big powerhouses in 1A.
Yeah, we've talked about Lagodi. I mean, Lagodi's got a great history.
Takes down Springs Valley though.
Got a great history down in the southern part of the state, and Lagodi's about the only team that wasn't really represented in that Class A showdown of magnitude.
Correct.
And so that's
Pioneer.
Them and Pioneer, Rod and I squad. He's still there, they told me. Lagodi.
Update Max, perhaps.
Lagodi taking down Springs Valley, that's a big win.
Yeah.
So, I think right now you look at it, Lagodi and Cowan are right where they want to be, and we don't know anything about Pioneer
And then
yet.
you got Pioneer, and then you also got one more. I really like what they're doing lately. Is Trinity Lutheran. Faith's doing a really good job with that team. They play a hard schedule, and they do have 5 or 6 losses, but they have played big schools.
They've been there.
Yep.
They've been there. They're good.
So that's going to be interesting. Then we got tonight, Wednesday, we got Roncalli versus Brebeuf, which will be always a good game, year in and year out.
Yeah, well, I always like the parochial battles, and those games, those Roncalli, Brebeuf, Chittard, Roncalli, Cathedral, those aren't record games. Those are rivalry games, and there's a little bit of a sisterhood in some of those games that really matters. And so Roncalli, Brebeuf throw out the records. On paper, Brebeuf is the better team. Roncalli coming off a huge win over Heritage Christian, though. We'll see if they can continue to ride that swell.
Yep. Thursday night, we'll kind of get our thoughts on it. The Muncie Burris Owls. Congrats to Steve Shondell. He got his 1,200th win.
Wow. 1,200 wins.
Yeah, unbelievable. And they will be battling the Newcastle Trojans.
It's maybe a David versus Goliath setup there. We talked a couple weeks ago about Burris. That barometer game was Yorktown. And they didn't fare well, but may have learned something. The one thing that when you win 1,200 games, it tells you that you're an active learner. Steve Shondell's an active learner. He had to have learned something out of that loss that's going to help that Burris team get where they got to go. And then the good news for Burris fans, they don't have to go through Newcastle or Yorktown to get where they want to go.
No longer.
That's no longer a single class state, and Burris. They're good.
Yep.
They're good. They still got to be considered one of the favorites in their class. I'm just going to say they're not going to walk into Newcastle and Chrysler Arena and be favorites. They will not be favorites on that night. And Newcastle will probably be pretty motivated. This was a big match last year in sectionals.
Yeah.
And a little bit of interesting tension between those two teams after that thing, where a lot of the Burris fans thought that they had Newcastle. We'll see. They're going to get a full glimpse of Newcastle on Thursday night.
1,200 wins, 100 losses. The Burris Owls fall in 3. Cheers.
I wondered about the prop. By the way, marriage has been really good to you. You're a hell of a lot funnier now than you used to be. So that's how many losses for Steve in his career? 100?
100.
1,200 wins, 100 losses.
He might be at 1,201 now. I don't know. But
Hey, yeah,
it's
that
ridiculous.
really matters. So you're calling the
cracking the 100. There it is.
You're calling the 100th loss will come at the hands of Newcastle Trojans.
The Trojans.
All right, solid.
Delaware County, Thursday night.
Delaware County what?
Volleyball tournament.
Oh, I thought that was called the Yorktown Invitational. Isn't that what we call it?
It has been in the last 10 years.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we still call it Delaware County Tournament.
Yeah.
So we are calling it.
It's still at Wapahani. I mean, they should just move it to Yorktown, I'm guessing.
But we are still calling it the Delaware County
I
Tournament.
think that's what they like.
Okay, go ahead. Let me see what you got.
Thursday nights, you got opening game is Yorktown versus Westdale. These are all at Wapahani.
Okay.
At 6 o'clock. Following that game will be Wapahani versus Cowan.
Wapahani Cowan may be
Those will be on the
that may
opposite
be
side of the
entertaining.
Yeah.
Wapahani and Cowan could be an entertaining match. I think, and don't get irritated, I think Wapahani's got a little too much for Cowan. But Cowan's, and they're riding high right now. They're pretty jacked up about what's going on. That used to be one of the greatest rivalries in Delaware County, Wapahani and Cowan.
I talked to my wife a
Police,
little bit more
student
about
riots. It was a spectacular time. I really enjoyed being knee deep in that mess. Maybe even stirred it a little.
Yep.
But I will tell you that was one of the real fond memories I have of Delaware County volleyball. And both of those teams are back at a point where it could be a good rivalry again. That'd be worth watching. That's a good game.
Yeah, and the one thing I will tell you.
Who wins that game, Biggs?
I will say out of the Yorktown-Westdale game, I will say this. Westdale has much improved over the year.
Western?
Yes.
Biff Wilson,
Biff
good
almost
coach.
took down LCC this past week.
Biff Wilson, good coach.
And
Good coach.
some really questionable calls for them and against them.
Okay.
But it came down to it was 12-12 in set 3. So
That's impressive.
Which it was. I thought that was a really improved. I think Biff's done a really good job with this team. Wapahani Cowan, I don't know. I haven't seen Wapahani, so I can't make that call because I have not seen the Wapahani team. I would say right now, this is as dangerous as the Cowan team's been. They got 3 pin attackers.
So you're saying Cowan?
I'm not saying Cowan.
You're kind of saying
I'm
Cowan.
not
feeling you're saying
Wapahani.
Cowan.
I can't make
He
a
graduated from Wapahani. They're going to start. It's taking away his colors.
You
You're
know
going to be
what?
stripped of your red and black.
I haven't seen Wapahani this year. I can't make a call on that.
You guys have watched.
But I
them
will
all
say
year long.
this. I will say this.
You guys going to be some kind of dramatic thing?
Delta will play Yorktown in the semifinals on the one side. That will
Okay.
be a sweep.
All right.
Yorktown will be in the final.
Against?
Delville will take on Cowan and Wap. Whoever wins the Cowan Wap game will play Delville. That winner will be in the final. They will play Yorktown. Yorktown will win that easily.
Wow. So you're calling Yorktown the easy winner in the
Yorktown
invite.
volleyball tournament.
Okay. But you're not going to make a call on the Cowan.
Can't make a call on that one. Don't know what Wap's got.
It's really disappointing. I was really excited with where you were going the last couple of weeks, but that's all right. If it had been any team Jason Young coached, you would have made that call against him. I know how you work. You won't pick
Sometimes you gotta do what you
against
gotta do.
All right, let's go.
Mermaid pools. Top players to watch. Like we talked about, if there's anybody else that we got out there that's commitment, let us know. I've got 5 more here, and I'm running out.
I tell you what,
But we are 7 weeks into this. 5 kids each week.
35 of them now are all D1 commits. I mean, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. Players to watch this week. You know, I love our first. I love Abby Plevin, University of Oregon, beach commit.
Going to play beach.
Beach commit. That's
She's
why
out
I'm
there
wearing the
empowered and everything
That's
else,
why I'm
so.
wearing the San Jose State shirt today. My daughter's a beach guy and out there, and I will tell you, you gotta love the beach commits, and you gotta love the well-rounded play of beach commits. You know, those guys can do a little bit of everything. I remember a couple years ago, Chacon up at Crown Point, and
Yep.
she could pass it, set it, serve it, hit it. I love those kids that are true to die volleyball players that can do whatever you need them to do. And congratulations, Abby, on committing to the University of Oregon. Go Ducks. You know, I can only wonder if they have 744 uniform options in a beach gear. And if they
That
can
would be
do that-
impressive.
if they can pull that off, more power to you. But you're going to the land of Phil Knight and Nike. You're going to do okay, babe. Number 2, Kate Snyder out of Angola, heading to Ball State.
One
play-
of not the seniors out of that group.
Yeah, a junior. The 2 juniors this week we're going to talk about. Kate Snyder being one, heading to Ball State to play for Kelly Miller, who's done a beautiful job building up that program at Ball State into a MAC power. Angola has been built into a summit area power by Loy Ball, and Kate Snyder's one of the reasons why. Great little ball player, and they're moving in the right direction, both Angola and Kate Snyder.
Yep.
Julia Nagy would be my 3rd. Comes out of a small school, Blackhawk Christian out of Fort Wayne, heading to DePaul up in Chicago.
Yep.
And, you know, the senior is carries the load for this squad. But I love when we get those guys coming out of those small schools. I love when you see guys coming out of 1A, 2A schools and getting that kind of love because it's hard. It is hard for those guys sometimes to get recognition. Now, I know they get most of it out of the club season, but that high school season, great players are made when high school preparation meets up with club preparation. And when you can put both of those together, you get things like scholarships to DePaul. So, obviously comes out of a really talented small school, but obviously coming out of a very talented club program as well.
Yeah.
And I love when it works out.
A lot of the Fort Wayne people I've talked about, they've said that she's kind of a special kid and really you should go watch her just because she's got just a knack on the defensive end of her. So I've heard a lot of great things, but like you said, being from a small school, sometimes they slip through. You don't really get to hear them as much because it's a 1A, but it seems like she's a stud. And they almost they lost last night in 5, and they really who they play? They played I think Concordia. So it's a good run.
Number 4 is Asia Pavlin. Pavlin out of Sullivan, another senior heading to Indiana State University. Make sure it takes care of Jade York down there.
Yeah.
And Indiana State is slowly but surely starting to put together a foundation. It takes a long time for some of these schools, and I love the schools, much like Ball State and some of these other schools, that have done it with in-state commitments. And they're laying down a foundation of Hoosiers, and I think that Asia will add to that. Congrats to her.
Yep.
Last but not least is Grace Bogus, big middle hitter, big and physical, tough low ball player out of Center Grove Junior, heading to go play at Butler, another one of the Hoosiers that elected to stay home. She will really, really, really gain some steam here towards the end of the season based on MJ Hamill being back. Our girl Eck did an incredible job filling in, but now Eck can pass perfect balls to Hamill, who can set perfect balls to Bogus, and that makes them very, very dangerous. This kid is big. She's one of the kids I've watched that just doesn't know what she doesn't know. She could be very, very good, and probably better than she thinks she could be. But Grace Bogus heading to Butler in a year. She's, once again, her and Kate Snyder are the only juniors on this list.
What's interesting about her is I did the camp there 2 years ago with MJ and Center Grove and those guys, and she was a freshman. And they moved her over to the varsity court that day when I was there, and she was absolutely scared of her own shadow. But as that camp went on, you really started just seeing her getting comfortable. I was really impressed with Eck and all those guys that now are the senior group. It was MJ and all those guys kind of took her underneath their wing at the camp, even just kind of saying, all right, this is what we're going to do. So she's, like you said, long might be an understatement. She is a lean machine. She gets up and rips it sometimes. Next part, we're going to kind of go down the stretch here.
This is from my Kentucky roots.
Yes.
Kentucky Derby, and down the stretch they come.
Yep. And just kind of getting your thoughts on some different things. Who's hitting their stride on the last turn here? Because we are week 7. We're a couple weeks. Selection Sunday is this weekend, this Sunday, to figure out where everybody's going to fall in sectionals.
I think that Newcastle's hitting their stride. They've got a stretch of 3-0 runs. They've got a stretch of pretty significant wins, and sweep in Yorktown still amazes me. I think it'd be hard to do that twice in 1 year, but that's still an impressive feat. It's the first time anybody's done it in years. I think the way they've dismantled and handled everybody that week really amazed me, going through Providence in straights. I think Providence is better than what people think. They would be my other 4A team on down that's hitting their stride right now. But I'm going to go Center Grove as my other team hitting their stride. And the reason is that, they've been without MJ Hamill for almost half the season. And I think that with her coming back fresh, and these guys really held on, they held the rope.
Correct.
I mean, that group of girls did a remarkable job. You lose a player like MJ Hamill, anybody else in the state is in trouble. As good as Newcastle is, you lose Mel Schaffmaster, you're going to lose some games. You're going to lose. A couple years ago, Yorktown loses Bella Rosenthal, a little girl who was not a setter, was a bro. They lose her as their setter, and they lose to Newcastle in a pivotal conference match. The last time,
last week of the season.
Yes, the last
they
week
rolled
of the
into
season.
sectionals, and she showed up for our game.
And so when you lose a setter, I mean, that's a big deal, especially when it's a primetime setter. I think that those guys are hitting stride. I think they're going to. I think they're moving towards it. I have them. I think Cowan's hitting stride. They're 1A. I think that they're definitely moving in the right direction. Them and Wapahani, that's going to be a great matchup because I think Wapahani's hitting stride. They're starting to play because I said all year long they had the best group of young players in the state, and they're starting to go. You know, they put Macy Bowden in, and all she does is set them to a victory over Mount Vernon. Yeah. And Mount Vernon's a pretty good team. It was in our top 10 at one point. So I like that team. And, you know, we'll see who's hitting the stride between those two this week.
The crazy record is you're just talking about, I mean, those two schools combined for a 1A and a 2A, 40-3 on the year.
No, that's unbelievable.
So
two teams, I think they are hitting their stride.
Yeah. Is there a clear runaway favorite in any of the classes?
I say no. You know, everybody's going back. You know, I talked to a reporter the other day. It was bringing up the 2002 season when Delaware County won all four.
Yeah.
And my comment to him was that year when we coached in Wapahani, we were the underdog. The 2A champion that year was Burris. They were a clear favorite. The 3A champion was Delta. And they weren't a runaway favorite, but people thought they had a good shot at Boone. And in 4A was Muncie Central, and that was kind of a runaway favorite. You know, somebody said, could that happen this year? You know, for the first time, we're getting some teams that look good. I would say that Cowan's a favorite, not a runaway favorite. I still, Lagodi, Springs Valley, and Pioneer. Still too much to know. I can't say runaway. I would say favorite. In the 2A, Wapahani.
Yep.
Wapahani's got a shot.
I mean, you got some teams there. Bar Reeve.
Hey, those guys can give them a run. Bar Reeve would be the team that would keep me from saying runaway favorite. 3A, Burris got a shot. But I like Dwayne an awful lot. You know, and so I can't.
Leo and all those guys. Fort Wayne.
Yeah, all of Fort Wayne. So I can't say that Burris is a runaway. Newcastle, I think, is the best team in the state of Indiana. That doesn't mean they're going to win it.
Yep. You
know, the key to this thing, I told you, I've said it every week, you just got to win your last match of the year. That's it. And everybody knows that come in a couple weeks from now. Yorktown is still very frightening. Providence, McCutcheon, HSE, Center Grove, all could win that thing. So even though I think that Newcastle is a favorite, I can't say runaway. I say no. There is no runaway favorite.
Yeah. If you were coaching right now, last month of the season, what are you really hitting on at this point? With we're now in October. Mm-hmm. What are we knocking out right now to get us ready for?
Well, I think
it really comes down to what's going to happen in 2 weeks.
I think three things. I think technically, I'm working on first ball contacts. I'm going to make sure that we are not going to make mistakes doing the easy things. We're going to serve it. And we're going to serve it with a little pressure, and we're going to have some pace in place to where we're serving the ball. We're going to work a lot on serving. We're going to really try to perfect passing as much as possible. We're going to make it so that we don't allow you to produce points easily off our passing errors. I think I'm locked and loaded on first contact. Tactically, I'm starting to look towards sectionals right now. I'm going to try to put my scouting report. For instance, if I'm Yorktown, I'm going to play the last 4 or 5 matches of the season using my Newcastle scouting report. The year that we beat Burris and ended Burris's 1,000-year reign of state championships, we used the Burris scouting report for the last 5 matches of the season. I'm going to get my major opponent down pat. I'm not going to tell my kids this is who we're doing. I'm just going to implement what I know is going to be critical down the stretch. So if I'm Newcastle, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to be focused on certain things about Yorktown, even though I know I've got other people to play. And even in the season, I'm not going to tell my kids this is my Yorktown scouting report or my Newcastle scouting report or my Center Grove scouting report, but we're going to focus on somebody tactically. And we're going to nail down who I've got to beat in sectionals. Keep in mind, these sectionals are huge. You know, Fishers has had a very lackluster season until they beat HSE. If they beat HSE in the sectionals, this has been the greatest year ever. Yorktown has had a disappointing year by Yorktown standards. They've lost once. I mean, but by their standards.
Yeah.
You know, they've lost once. They lost the conference championship. You know, and the sun's not going to come up in Yorktown, Indiana ever again. unless they beat Newcastle. So you look at those one games, you look at every one of these sectionals has a couple of those. There's some of that stuff that's going on up in the Summit City is crazy. You could have an absolute average here. Belmont could be really struggling, and they just pull off a big one, or Concordia pulls off a big one. Here we go. We're in. And so, I want to make sure I nail down that one. So tactically, I'm going to focus on somebody, and I'm going to get ready. And then I think that mentally, I'm going to start to preach. So I'm going to start singing to my kids. This has all been preseason. The NFL is talking about cutting their preseason from 4 games to 2. I'm telling you, in Indiana, people doing this the right way should realize they got about 28 preseason games. The only regular season starts with sectionals. And if you're really lucky, you may play 5 or 6 games. And that's it. And I'm going to start preaching to my kids, preseason's coming to an end, and we've got to win our last game. And every game you play is potentially your last. Mentally get prepared.
Yep.
I think those are the 3 things, technical, tactical, and mental, I'm going to punch on.
That's a good call, because I was watching the baseball game last night, and literally the Brewers controlled that for 8 innings, and then one little slip up in the 9th, best guy on the mound.
Yep.
Season's over after 163 games. But Gear Munciana season rankings. I'm gonna get on to talking about. Like I said, I threw in some teams in there, the honorable mentions, some of the teams we don't have ranked in our ranks that are up high in each class.
Well, yeah.
Just so you can look at those for the
No,
future.
I like it. And I think they deserve a little love. Lagodi and Cowan in 1A, not ranked in ours, but they're
top 5.
They're top. They're probably the top 2 teams in 1A. 2A is not ranked in ours. Bar Reeve and Hagerstown. Now, Hagerstown, Brian Dale.
What'll be fun too is Bar Reeve plays Lagodi this week. I think it's tomorrow. And it'll be another barn burner there, 23-1, 17-2.
2 great teams. I mean, Hagerstown, what Brian Dale's done there is ridiculous. I said this the other night at Pendleton Heights that just a couple of years ago they were 4-21. Now they're 21-4. Hagerstown, I'm telling you, they were horrible. In the last 3 years, he's done remarkable things. 20-2. Give them some love. 3A, Angola, 19-2. Vincent's Lincoln, 24-1.
Sorry, I don't really know much about them, but 24-1. You gotta throw it out there.
No, you got to give them love. You got to give them
they've lost
love.
about 9 sets on the year.
Yeah, and then Plainfield, the home of Circle City and Castle, both deserve some love. 20-3 Plainfield.
Yep.
And Castle is in 4A is always a big school and tough in every other sport, but 21-4. That's congrats to those guys. All honorable mention this week.
Yep.
Give love to those 8. You ready to go?
Yeah. Number 10.
Wapahani. Wapahani rolls in without their starting setter and takes down Mount Vernon. Has a big week where they take down everybody on their schedule. They beat about 48 teams this week.
Yeah, this is about a week and a half span.
It's good. I'm digging it. But 20-1, and you can't. Once again, Katie, with all due respect, always be Vasilakis to me. I know you're married. Katie Vasilakis has gone into Wapahani and done an incredible job. Yorktown grad, really groomed by Steph Bloom, Steve Shondell, Kelly Miller. You don't get better than that. And has gone into Wapahani, and she's done some really nice things. So they're my number 10. Moving
up a little bit, number 9.
Thank God they're moving up. So he's got to be excited about this. 3 of my favorite letters, HSE. Hamilton Southeastern moving back into the hunt. Takes down Zionsville, Brownsburg, Chittard, Westfield, Bloomington South. Really good week. And to be honest, those are some really pretty good teams. This is the easy part of his schedule. He's had to battle with a lot of people. He's 18-4. Had a tough loss a couple weeks ago to Heritage, but other than that, he's done what he's supposed to do.
Yep.
Now let's see what he does down the stretch, and it's going to be interesting. But HSE's my number 8.
Number 8,
Evansville Memorial. Much like your Vincennes Lincoln, Evansville Memorial is, it's in a part of the state where they don't get a ton of recognition, but they're 24-1.
The impressive thing is they're beating Castle
twice
in the last
in
week.
Castle at 21-4.
Yep.
Jeffersonville, Jasper, Evansville Central. Whenever you can go out and win 24 out of 25 times, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you're playing. The Harlem Globetrotters even lost a couple of times. That's impressive. At 24-1, I give them my 8.
Yep. All right, number 7.
Maggie Castleman and the crew.
Still rolling.
Yeah,
You got a big test next Thursday. They're going to play Dwenger, so we'll see where they at.
Yeah, they go through New Haven and Woodlawn and Fort Wayne Northside. I mean, fairly easy week for Heritage, but they're still winning, and they're at number 7. And Castleman and the crew, they're going to have to play to get out. Who cares where they're ranked?
Correct.
Once again, that Fort Wayne, come sectional time, Fort Wayne's going to be fun.
It would be.
And Heritage is a good team.
All right, right ahead of number 6.
Speaking of Fort Wayne, Dwenger, Hauser's got them rolling. He took down a ton of teams over the last week and a half.
Got the redemption.
He did get the
Angola.
redemption. He got the redemption against Angola and
Straits.
and they're a team that we've talked about athletically are capable of beating anybody. They're a lot like McCutcheon, just dangerous.
Yeah.
And I don't think you want to be in a dogfight with them. They may be the hungriest team in Indiana, understanding that they were the only thing that stood between Newcastle and the last 2 state championships. The best match that Newcastle has played, arguably. They had a tough war with Wapahani a couple years back, but Dwingers had them on the ropes.
Yep.
2 years in a row in the state championships, their season was ended by Newcastle. Here's what I know. This kind of feel like you making great predictions. Newcastle won't end Dwinger's season this year.
Look at you. Way to step out on a limb there.
Yeah, by virtue of Newcastle moving to 4A, they will not end Dwinger's season. I like this Dwinger team, and I like them in 3A.
There we go. All right, number 5.
Dangerous team. Whenever you have, this is like a senior citizens group. I mean, these guys have their AARP cards. I mean, Center Grove has, 9 seniors, 8 or 9 seniors.
And some really good juniors.
And some really good juniors.
Which
the
are pretty much
Bogus
seniors now.
The Bogus kid we highlighted, they are. That's a great comment. That's what I'm talking about Wapahani kids. They came in as freshmen. They're now sophomores. We're past the point of no return. These kids that are juniors are really close volleyball age now to being closer to seniors. And my girl MJ Hamill and that group of seniors are closer to their first year of college. And I like this Center Grove team. It is very tough to beat really hungry senior-led teams late in the season. Terry Perica's Providence teams have really benefited from that in the past. I like this Center Grove team. Chris Duda does a great job coaching them. And MJ Hamill is a tremendous floor general. I wouldn't look past them.
Yep. All right, top 4, 1 loss is a piece.
All the rest of them only have taken down 1 loss. McCutcheon had a little bit of a slow start last night with Avon, took care of business, and really had a pretty solid week. These guys, we talked about a couple weeks ago being really a major hurdle if HSE rolls through their sectional. That McCutcheon's waiting, and McCutcheon's very athletic, and it'll be interesting. That'll be a great showdown between 2 great programs, but right now McCutcheon's my number 4.
Yep. All right, number 3.
Providence, and I will tell you 3 through 1, throw them up in the air. Throw them up in the air because on whoever comes ready to play, or most ready to play, because I can tell you, most of these teams are always ready to play. Whichever team comes in with the most confidence, the most mojo, and the most ready to play. That means preparation by the coach, it means fanfare, it means everything. Any one of these 3 teams it would be deadly to play against in a state run. Providence is my number 3, only because the 2 in front of them have been rolling all season. Providence has done a great job. I'm telling you, the Newcastle does not want to see Providence again because those guys were right on them. They jumped them to start the match at 6-0. They're not afraid of anybody. One of the things, Terry Perica grooms courageous kids. And this Providence team, come tournament time, will not back down. And also know this, that, if you remember last year around this time was when Terry got her back surgery and wasn't there. You don't tell me she doesn't want to get back on the big stage.
Yeah.
They're dangerous. Providence is number 3, but they could very easily be 1.
Yep.
Number 2 is Yorktown, and all they did was just keep beating up people. Cathedral did take a set off of Yorktown the other night.
Cathedral was much improved, like we said.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
Cathedral may be the most improved team in the state. Yorktown, other than Newcastle, is still the best team in this state. I said all year long until someone beats them, and they did get beat. But they are an absolutely dangerous animal, very well coached and very well led. Allie Stinson is a great leader.
Correct.
A great leader. This is going to be a tough team. You don't want to draw them in any fashion. Newcastle is going to draw them in the sectionals.
Yep.
no matter how much they want to, you want to dodge it. These two are going to play. You know, based on when they pull those names out of a hat. Was that next week?
This Sunday.
This Sunday. You know, I would not be shocked to see Newcastle and Yorktown in the first game. You know, the year that we played Burris, number 1 versus number 2, first game right out of the bat on Thursday night. Boom. Just smacked you right in the mouth. And you know what my thought on that is? If you're gonna win
I
it,
liked it that night.
I do too. If you're gonna win it, let's go. Let's go.
I mean, you game plan for that night, you get it
Yes.
over with, and
Yes.
then you make sure you don't trip up on the next couple
Yeah.
of games.
Yeah.
Because, to be honest with you, that sectional, which is amazing,
Great sectional.
is your third best team is Mount Vernon and Pendleton Heights are 3 and 4 right there.
Oh yeah.
I give them a tie for third.
And
They're both
I
very
did
capable.
TV with Newcastle Pendleton Heights and Blair Barksdale's group. You like that because I did use Blair's actual married name.
You did
Should
that
go back to
at the
Blair Buchanan. I did do it.
Just got used to saying it.
Yeah, I got to change. I got to go back. I did do Newcastle Pendleton Heights, and Pendleton Heights was really good, really good. Mount Vernon has been really good. So that sectional's got 4 great teams, and so you get past one. If Newcastle gets past Yorktown, or Yorktown gets past Newcastle, you can't sleep. No time to celebrate.
Well, you're on opposite sides.
Yeah, hang on to your champagne. You can't pop it yet because they're coming. And if you're on opposite sides, you're in for a war. You're going to get warmed up. My number 1 team stays the same, and all they've done is swept. They've swept. They've just rolled through people. Is Newcastle, and they're still beating some good teams. I mean, you know, this weekend at Cathedral, solid tournament. I mean, some of those teams are down, but you know, Center Grove is very, very good. Chittard is very improved. They played them last night. Cathedral, maybe the most improved. Columbus East. I mean, it's a good run.
Yep.
Newcastle by far the best team in the state still, but let's see who prepares.
Floors will be clean on Thursday at Newcastle.
Well, we'll see. I know Coach Roush is excited about that match, and you know, whenever you're playing against a legend like Steve Shondell, get you going. But you know, it should be a great week of volleyball. It should give us a little clearer picture after some of these games this week. But even if the picture's cloudy, we'll be back next week.
Always.
Always. Have a great week. Get out and see some volleyball and be good sports fans.